Good evening, this is Hound Dog Steve, and welcome back to my channel. It's great to see you, and a great shout out to any new viewers this evening. And Google is the topic tonight. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen the Project Veritas hidden camera video of some of the Google's top execs, one in particular, a woman who is the head of AI integrity called Jen Janai. And anyways, the recordings are pretty devastating. There are some pretty serious admissions that were made on this video, basically about election tampering.
It's about ML fairness.
ML fairness, it seems.
Fairness, like,
yeah.
You know, you need to be fair.
We're also training our algorithms, like if 2016 happened again, would the outcome be different?
They are a highly biased political machine that is bent on never letting somebody like Donald Trump come to power again. 2020
is certainly on top of now my old organisation, Trust and Safety, is top of mind. They've been working on it since 2016 to make sure we're ready for 2020. We got called in front of Congress multiple times. They can pressure us, but we're not changing.
Okay, so this is pretty serious stuff. Now, of course, what happened was that the video was immediately taken down by YouTube. And of course, this to me just seems to confirm the veracity of what was said on these recordings. However, it's been uploaded on BitChute, and I will be leaving that link below. And I would encourage all of you to watch that video and think about the implications of what is being said. So Jen Janai, who is basically programming these algorithms, says right in your face that after the Trump election, they decided to basically interfere with the election so that the Trump thing could not happen again. And what it's doing is basically rerouting any kind of conservative conversation to the bottom of the pile. And so what the algorithm will do is it will return a more of a left-leaning or more of the, basically what the Google believes is the correct narrative. Basically, it is skewing the search patterns. Now, the fact that they're interfering directly with elections is absolutely horrendous. I mean, Google controls basically 90% of the internet traffic. It is the #1 search engine. Okay, and you have to remember that these huge tech giants are subsidized by the taxpayer, because as you will see with these things that I'm going to put up on the screen as I'm speaking, show that Google, Apple do not pay taxes, or they pay the minimum amount of taxes, and of course the result is not paying those taxes ends up in the government struggling to pay for infrastructure upkeep that all of these companies basically use pretty heavily. And again, that's subsidized by the taxpayer, so they get a really good deal. So let's first take a little look at what Google's idea, or some of these other tech giants' idea of fairness is. So, for example, in Silicon Valley and San Francisco, you can see we have 10 cities. We have homeless people, we have jobless people. Basically, the cost of owning a home or renting a home in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, in general in California, is basically out of reach of the average person. So you're seeing reports like feces, needles on the street of San Francisco and all around these tech giants. So there really isn't much benevolence there. What about Apple? Apple employees in China jumping out of windows. And here you see the nets put up around the building to try and prevent the deaths from happening. That's not really what I would call benevolence, and it gives you a pretty good indication of the kind of idea of fairness that Google would want to engage in. And of course, this is classic doublespeak. And here is a definition of doublespeak, and it means that when you and I think of fairness, we think of like it was in school, where you count out or you share things equally and everyone gets to have a little slice. But that's not what fairness means to Google. And we have to really understand that they do not necessarily have our best interests at heart, only if it happens to coincide with their best interests. or their sense of fairness, or their narrative. So where is this all heading? What is actually going to happen? Let's assume, okay, that these algorithms work perfectly and you manage to erase the conservative voice off the internet, which probably is not going to happen. I just can't see how that would possibly work. But anyways, let's just assume that you erase that voice completely. Well, we have a perfect example of what will happen next, because right now in the Democratic Party you have a split between the radical side of the Democrats and the more centrist side, which would include, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Nancy Pelosi, these kind of people, and the other side, which is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar. And so what will happen is Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi will become white supremacists, and that will be the divide. There will be two right of the far left. And once they're eliminated, it will drop down again. These will just become finer and finer and finer divisions, all based on Google's narrative and Google's idea of fairness. It will never end. And the example we have in World War II, of course, is in the beginning, what happened? It was the gypsies, it was the homosexuals, it was the outliers, it was the dissidents, this kind of stuff that were gotten rid of. Then they moved on to the Jews. And in the end, by the time we got to the end of World War II, they were literally measuring the noses and the tint of blue of Aryan people, because you were either more Aryan or less Aryan. And this was the purification that took place. And it will never end. There would never be any end to this, and this is why it is absolutely so dangerous that these people have this kind of power and they are tampering. When you think of the millions and millions and millions of dollars that have been spent on Russian interference in the last election, because Russia spent $100,000 for some Facebook ads, which probably changed about 3 people's minds. And the big thing about this is it's not in the mainstream media. There is nothing, there is no mention on any of the mainstream media platforms. I had to search quite a bit to get responses to the film from Jen Janai. Let's just pop over those quickly and we'll come back and I'll do a quick wrap up. Okie dokie, here we go. And here from the WAG Center, Jen Janai, top facts about Google executive. Here she is, Jen Janai. It's not a good day to be Jen Janai. The lovely lady who works for Google was caught on tape speaking about Google's plan to keep Donald Trump from winning in the next elections. In her defense, Janai says she was set up and that the footage has been altered in a way that makes her seem as a powerful executive who is confirming that Google is working to alter the 2020 election. Well, that's exactly what she did, and the tape, you'll see the tape was not altered. And I must stress at this point, it doesn't matter whether you like Donald Trump or not, okay? Because this could be anybody that Google doesn't like. Number 1, she has a top job. Janai serves as the head of Responsible Innovation, Global Affairs at Google. She leads the Responsible Innovation team at Google, which is responsible for operationalizing Google's artificial intelligence principles, specifically ensuring that Google's products have fair and ethical outcomes on Google's users and the world. She's held other roles at Google. She was recorded making several statements about Google's role in elections. Jen was caught in a hidden video in which she says Google has been working diligently to prevent the results of the 2016 election from repeating in 2020. Isn't there a law against this? If you and I tamper with the elections, aren't we going to jail? According to the insider, machine learning fairness is one of the many tools Google uses to promote a political agenda. Documents leaked by a Google informant elaborate on machine learning fairness and the algorithmic unfairness that AI product intervention aims to solve. Number 4. Jen says she was taped without her consent. According to Janai, the situation started when she was approached by people who, according to her, claimed to be from Two-Step Tech Solutions. She agreed to have dinner with them to chat about a mentoring program for young women of color in tech. However, she writes in an essay that these people lied about their true identities, filmed it without my consent, selectively edited and spliced the video to distort my words and the actions of my employer and published it widely online. Well, yes, it was cut, but you will see that it was cut in such a way that whole sentences came out. It wasn't like the sentences were chopped up. You'll see. Watch the video. 5. She blames Project Veritas. On the same essay, Janai says she is now aware the people she met belong to a group called Project Veritas, which has done this to numerous other people working in the tech and other sectors, she writes. I was having a casual chat with someone at a restaurant and she used some imprecise language. Project Veritas got me. Well done. You'll notice though there is no denial of what she said. And this from Reclaim the Net. Google executive Jen Janai responds to undercover report showing AI basis. A top Google executive has decided to address some serious accusations leveled against her and the company she works for after her controversial statements surfaced in an investigative report. And the reaction is a curious mix of denial, accusations and admission of using imprecise language. There's doublethink for you right there. Jen Janai, head of responsible innovation, global affairs at Google, came under the spotlight after the statements that she made, recorded in a Project Veritas undercover video, said that as we all got screwed over in 2016 presidential election won by Trump, meaning Google, the people, the news media, the company has rapidly been trying to understand what happened there and how do we prevent it from happening again. We're also training our algorithms, like if 2016 happened again, would the outcome be different, Janai says. This was taken by many to mean that the tech giant intends to use the power of its tech to influence the outcome of future elections. So I think that just about sums it up for how dangerous these tech platforms are. Thankfully, Senator Hawley is bringing forward a bill to deal with Article 230. And this is basically, Article 230 allows these big tech platforms like Twitter, like Google, like YouTube to be a platform, okay, which means that they cannot get sued for copyright. It is I that will get sued for copyright if I put some copyrighted material into one of my videos. That's my responsibility. However, if you are a platform, you cannot censor whatever is on your platform, except in the most egregious, exceptional cases. But by and large, you have to allow a free flow of information from left, right, center, whoever that is. It's not your position to censor anybody. So basically what this bill will do is force these platforms to decide. Are you a platform and you want to retain that special privilege of not being sued for copyright infraction, or are you going to censor and be a publisher? But you cannot be both. You cannot have that protection from copyright infraction and also act like a publisher and decide what people are and are not going to say in their videos, in their writings and that kind of stuff. So this is going to be very interesting how this plays out, but please, I've never done this before, but please, I ask you, watch this video down below and then share it far and wide. We must all understand how dark these tech platforms are, and their best interest is not our best interest. And these behemoths, if we don't tackle them now, they will end up running the world. And of course what's happening is when you look at Google's investors, 69% of those investors are other institutions. So in other words, Apple is investing in Google, Twitter, Microsoft, all of the biggies are investing in Google, and I'm sure Google of course is investing in these other companies, and that's why, you know, you can be deplatformed, demonetized, be forced in a situation where you can't use PayPal, this kind of thing, financially ostracized from the system. I mean, this is absolutely brutal, and I think it's probably illegal. Maybe you could pass some comments on that, but this is just, this is right out of 1984 on steroids. But it gives you an indication of where these people are right now, where their heads are at, and where they want to take us all. So please share this video far and wide, and let's stop using Google. I switched over to Brave as a browser. I use DuckDuckGo as a search engine. I rarely use any Google products if I can avoid it at all, because they just are so dangerous. Every search you do is being spied upon, is being logged and listed, you're being tracked. Every site you go to, Google tries to track you, but not on Brave. And it also has the added bonus that you can do a torrent search, and so that you really are sub rosa and you can avoid any kind of tracking. Okay, well, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Hound Dog Steve signing off, wishing you a very pleasant evening, and we will talk very, very shortly. You take care now. See ya. Bye.